Okay, I have two more speakers, and they're very good speakers. And the next one I'd like to bring up here is another good friend of mine. I'm glad he make it up. I know he was standing up in the back of the room most of the day, but that's because he just drove back from Milwaukee to get up here so he could speak to you. And we're proud to have him. I'm going to let you do your own introduction and tell us what you do, buddy. I might want to also add that when I asked Mike to speak, he texted me and he says, I only have one goal, and that's to speak longer than Dave Z. So we'll see what happens.
My speech, actually, my speech is on my cup here, it's 37, okay? Before I get done, if I forget to use that as a story of 37, someone stop me. I told Jimmy Boy that as well. And I also was sitting in the back of Jimmy Boy, and I'm like, what in the world? They stuck me between two politicians. And Jimmy Boy said, oh no, we are problem solvers. So give it up for Jimmy Boy and Dave over there. Like Dennis stated, I like many of you here, am also a veteran. I belong to many organizations represented here. And there's one specific shout out that I would like to send out because they did not toot their horn enough. And that's for VVA Chapter 5. Dennis did mention it. I am very fortunate to have the best job anybody in this room or outside this room has. I lead a very professional team of individuals at Klein Hall in Chippewa Falls. We provide housing and living needs for 40 of our homeless veterans, so it's really an honor to do that. And VVA Chapter 5 last month. How many people here have to budget for a prime dinner? How many here have to kind of budget that money out and watch what they do? VVA Chapter 5 last month purchased and brought into our facility for our homeless vets enough prime rib to feed 40 of those veterans. And I think that deserves a standing ovation for VVA. I have an act of, whenever I speak, I try to speak about stuff that people don't want to talk about. And the biggie is mental illness. If we take a look at physical illness, people have no issue whatsoever discussing physical problems, issues, challenges, cancer, broke a bone, whatever it may be. But as soon as we start discussing mental illness, the mouth goes shut. It needs to be discussed more. It somehow follows up a little bit what your state representative was addressing. But if we take a look at homeless veterans, if we take a look at veterans that commit suicide, if we take a look at veterans that get addicted to substance, alcohol, street drugs, or overprescriptions from VA centers, if we take a look at violent outbursts, if we take a look at any of these individual situations that happen, it's all based around one issue, which is a mental illness of some sort. It can be depression, it can be anxiety, it can be PTSD, it can be military sexual trauma. Half of military sexual trauma in the military is victims are men. I've had male veterans in my center that were victims of military sexual trauma. And so the goal to fix all these things, not just homelessness, but the goal to fix all these things is not only addressing mental illness, it's about openly discussing it. If you know you have a problem, talking to people. So those are some very, very important key points that I really wanted to focus on. Is mental illness. Do not be afraid to talk about it. Do not be afraid to discuss it. Do not be afraid to share it. It is no different than breaking your damn leg. Period. I know personally, I was in Iraq in 04, 5, 9, and 10. I was a grunt my whole career. I was never smart enough to get out of the infantry. And regrettably, I know more people that I served with that committed suicide than were killed in Iraq when I was with them. More. Not just one more, multiple more. I know more veterans that attempted suicide. June 2nd, I'm going to get to the winter talking about the very same issue, about someone that survived a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He's still here. His wife taking care of him in the bed. These are issues and challenges that have to be addressed. They can't be swept under the carpet. And the reason I really want to focus on this is because there's one group of veterans in our culture today that we have to thank for that. Previous to Vietnam, and if you're in World War II, if you're in Korea, whatever conflicts that you were in, if you came back with a mental illness, they labeled you as shell shocked and they threw you out. Dishonored. I have had veterans in my center, Vietnam vets, completed their term of service. When they were discharged, they gave them, a bad discharge. The Vietnam vets changed that theory of thinking. The reason that we have the mental health solutions within the VA is because of what the Vietnam veterans did once they came home. It's extremely important to recognize that, because how many veterans have sought out help now because of all the effort that the Vietnam veterans have done. I see daily. I have veterans in my center. I think the biggest tour veteran in my center, he's a Iraqi war vet. He has 4 tours, 3 in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan, within a 4.5-year period. Went to war, came home. 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 And I said the other day, I said, you need to start thinking about moving forward and, looking for an apartment. And he was having none of it. He was like, I can't, I've got to. Okay, take your time. He's still dealing with challenges of his service termination. We would not have Klein Hall in Chippewa Falls. We would not have UB Hall at King. We would not have Cod 16 at Union Grove if it wasn't for the fight of the Vietnam veteran when they came home. So I, as a veteran, appreciate that to a great deal. Also, obviously, I want to discuss Klein Hall, and I think it's very important to share information about that program. And I am almost done because I was a kid while talking about these days. The VA has requirements. Now, we operate underneath a federal grant from the VA. The state of Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs has that grant. I do not work for either part of the government. I work for a nonprofit foundation. We run the centers for the state of Wisconsin and the VA because the VA says no one will profit off of veteran homelessness. That's why nonprofits run those programs. And I know that many leaders in veteran organizations never draw a salary. My boss, who's the president of our foundation, does not take 1 penny of a paycheck. He does for free. But the VA requires certain goals. We are required to have, whoever runs that program, 65% of those veterans must leave that program successfully. Successfully means if they didn't have health care, we're able to secure them health care. If they need to get a job, we got a job. If they need a place to live, we got a place to live. If they need to go to treatment for substance abuse, we got treatment done. Whatever they need to do to become successful. I've had veterans walk in my center, not with a bag in hand, but just walking in my center. That's what they have. These veterans have been in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. My oldest veteran is 72. I have Vietnam vets, I have peace era vets, I have Iraq, Afghanistan. I mean, there's homelessness does not have a face within the veteran community. So the VA says 65% of all veterans that come in that program must leave successfully. With those items that I said. I'm very proud to report, because of the team that works at that center, not because of me, but because of that team, that worked at this center, we work off of a fiscal year. Our first fiscal quarter for 2018, which was October, November, December, 100% of every veteran that came in there and left successfully. We are now finishing up our second quarter, January, February, March of 2018. 100% of every veteran that came in that program left successfully. Currently, we are at full capacity. Did Eric leave?
Yes.
Eric, I work closely with Eric up here, with Mike Haley in Chippewa County, Adam Coles in Eau Claire County, all the veteran service officers around, with keeping that facility full. We are at full capacity today. On the first week of the month, we'll graduate 3 more veterans, and as soon as they leave, our goal is to have a person waiting, so we move them in instantly. And that's where 37 comes in. That'll be done. How many people here, how many veterans here, by a rate, someone shout out, what's the longest time that you waited for, once you had your appointment, once you go either to the clinic or hospital, what's the longest waiting period that you've had to see a care provider?
3 weeks.
Once you were there though, once you're in your appointment time, once you're in the waiting room, what is the longest someone here has waited?
15 minutes.
15 minutes? 20 minutes? Come on guys and gals.
20 minutes.
20 minutes?
4 hours.
4 hours? Now, a really big misconception is because this is a federal program, it's going to take 4 weeks to get an appointment to get in. It's going to take 3 months to get there. Remember that number 37, what I started out with? Last week, from the time a veteran walked in to my office, he had a bag on his back, he had his DD-214 with him, he had his medical card from the VA. 37 minutes by the time he walked into my office, homeless, he was in the program. 37 minutes. It does not take a long time to get a veteran into these programs. With that said, if you have questions, I'll open it up, and I'll yield the floor to Dennis and Mr. Z.
I was just wondering, what's your capacity?
Our capacity at Klein Hall is 40. Because of the need in western Wisconsin, I asked the department down Madison to do an amendment because we have 2 very large rooms in our facility that are 2-man rooms. Plenty large enough for a 3rd bunk. So it took about 4 months to get the VA approval. So right now, although we're a 40-bed facility, because those rooms are extremely large, we now have a 3rd bed in those rooms, which we don't get compensated for. And so that if there's, so we can actually have up to 42 in there. So, but those are usually used for CBSOs like Eric, for Mike Haley, for Adam Cole. So if there's a local vet, they're not on the street. The closest VA homeless program in Wisconsin to us, other than Chippewa Falls, is Wapaka or Green Bay. That's it. We are the only facility in western Wisconsin. All other facilities are down in the southeast. There are 69 homeless beds in all of western Wisconsin and the state of Minnesota. That's all there is. Chippewa Falls at Klein Hall hold 30 of those beds for the VA. So, yes, ma'am.
Are there opportunities for volunteering at the home and supplies needed?
I always promote volunteers to go across the street to the nursing home because our veterans that are there, our unemployment rate is lower than the national average. Our unemployment rate is lower than the state average. Our unemployment rate is lower than Chippewa counties. Our unemployment rate is lower than Eau Claire counties. Our current unemployment rate at Klein Hall is 2.5%. 97.5% of our veterans have incomes. They're all working. And that's why I don't discourage volunteers. There's much more of a demand across the street at the nursing home because they, the care for them, the playing card, they have nothing else to do. The veterans at the center need to rebuild their lives and get back out to working and saving money and get back into their communities. As far as immediate needs, I would say that the paper products are always in demand there. Toilet paper, paper toweling,
Paper money,
basic, pardon me?
paper money.
Well, yeah. Actually, no, if you want to send money, if you do send us a check, we automatically earmark that, we send that to the state, because being as a nonprofit, we are currently contracted by the state to run a program for them. Therefore, any monetary donations that we receive, I forward those off down in Madison, so if there's something that we need in that facility, I just request Madison to pay for it. It's earmarked, it's not gonna go anyplace else in the budget. It's earmarked for Klein Hall and Chippewa Falls. Yes, sir?
I heard that you accept gift cards.
Yes. If organizations want to give us gift cards, we use them, like right now, we're on a big push for fishing. I've been out writing grants to local, I wrote a grant to Walmart, to Bass Pro Shops, to Shields, trying to get fishing equipment in. There's nothing better than fishing therapy, I'm sorry. I don't care who you talk to. We're close to a river, we're close to Lake Minnesota. I actually have a local gentleman that I talked to last week who has a pontoon boat on Lake Minnesota, and I reached out to him and I said, you know what, my guys would not just like to fish, it would be great if they could hit the lake and hit the fish. And he says, Mike, I will take veterans on 3 fishing trips a month, and it will also be guided at no charge to vets. So those are, they're really easy programs to develop. They are zero cost to the taxpayer. Since I've been running the program, and with the team that we have established there now, I was happy retired in May, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But when I have yet to see, since I've been there, 1 month that we're in the red. Our budget is $500,000 a year for the feds. That's what we operate off of. $500,000, 560 meals a week, times 52. Heat, electricity, we have 3 vans. We have a staff of 5 individuals. Now, you start running some quick numbers, how we stay in the black on $500,000 a year is beyond, I don't know, honestly, how we do it. We do it from contributions from like VVD Chapter 5, with that, wonderful meal that we run. VFW and Menominee is putting on they're catering a fun Easter lunch. A couple from over here in Taylor County, their church donated a bunch of hams for Easter dinner there. That's kind of how we get it done. And so.
Is the same gal at the nursing home then, is her name Glendale?
Katie?
That you do volunteer, that's
That's who I would, yep, I would definitely contact Katie or so. I'm sure there's some individuals that are here now that are on the committee over there. Are you on the committee?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But I'm sure that there's some members here on the committee, and they would probably have a lot better guidance for the program across the street. Problem if I bring too many volunteers and help, and then the guys are gonna stay in. Well, no, we need to get out, get active in the community, things of that nature.
I heard you gave up an office room to add more. Didn't you have like 38 and then you opened up to one of your offices?
Well, it's kind of a funny thing.
Over or what?
It's kind of a funny thing. Last summer, previous to last summer, our average occupancy was about 20 to 22, sometimes 24, through a month. And I kind of said, I think come out of retirement to have open homeless beds. So in June, we were at a max capacity of 30. And all of a sudden I got a phone call at a homeless bed. And in about 2 hours, I kind of kicked the state employee out of their office and kind of turned it into a bedroom real quick. It was kind of hectic. Some people weren't too happy, although the veteran was no longer in the street. He had warm food, he had a hot shower, able to provide services from us. Some huge advantages with our program is that after 60 days, any veteran in that program receives down care from the VA Minneapolis, which most of us would love to have that. If they have a VA claim to file, they're spearhead in the front. Who here has seen a show of hands? By the time they do apply for a VA claim, to have a result with the check in 3 weeks.
I've been waiting 3 years.
Happens in our program.
6 months.
Happens in our program. 5 years. It happens. The VA recognizes that they are receiving VA care in a homeless program, therefore they're an extreme priority. Therefore, if they process their claim quicker, and if they do have a valid claim that's approved, it'll help them move forward into their own housing again. So these are some fantastic programs. So, I'm telling you. Yes, sir.
Is there a follow-up on what happens after they get out of there?
Yes and no. For what we do, according to the guidelines, no. However, at first of the year, we did not have any in-home programs for the evenings for the veterans. When I talk about programs, I'm not talking about party and fun. Anybody here know what Smart Recovery is? Or heard of Smart Recovery? Smart Recovery is the science base of AA. Now, I cannot mandate veterans go to AA because we receive federal funds. AA has a higher power belief. So Smart Recovery is an extremely beneficial program. So on Wednesdays and Thursday evenings, we have Smart Recovery in facility by our staff, and a veteran leads one of the groups. Tuesday evenings, there's a Bible study group that comes in, which is voluntary. So there's a lot of programs that happen there that are not funded, although they're extremely beneficial. And so when you talk about contact afterwards, we reach out to the veterans when they leave our program, that if they want to continue coming to our programs, they're invited. And I have veterans that now live out in the community in Chippewa Falls, if that's where they're from, and they actually come back to a facility either on Wednesday or Thursday night during the Smart Recovery groups. They come in, they have dinner with us, and then they go to the groups. Are we good, folks? I yield the floor.
I had the pleasure of meeting Mike when he first got out, and he just had a bad motorcycle accident, and we worked at a gun board for the Combat Vets Motorcycle Association, and Mike here, it was last year or just before he got this year job, he was kind of wondering what direction he was going to go. He was dipping in politics a little bit, which and then when he got this year job, he went in there and believe it or not, he kind of revamped everything. He got the fires lit, he opened them doors up, and he's doing mover and shaker. I think that's fantastic work that you're doing up there, and we're very proud of you, and I'm glad to call you a friend. You're a good man. Next week.